Following the costly Operation Battleaxe in June 1941, the war in North Africa began to wind down as both sides had to reorganize and resupply for their next moves. General Archibald Wavell was relieved as Commander-in-Chief Middle East Command and replaced by General Claude Auchinleck. The Western Desert Force was renamed the 8th Army under command of Lieutenant General Alan Cunningham, consisting of 2 corps, the 30th and the 13th, a total of 118,000 men, 738 tanks, and 240 anti-tank guns. Opposing them was the German-Italian Panzer Group Africa, under the command of General Erwin Rommel, and 2 Italian Army Corps, the 20th and the 21st, a total of 119,000 men, 414 tanks, and 260 anti-tank guns, including the deadly Flak 88mm. The majority of Axis forces were laying siege on the city of Tobruk. Without the city's vital port in their hands, further offensives into Egypt were impossible. The 8th Army planned Operation Crusader with the intention to relieve the siege of Tobruk. The plan was to lure the Axis tank forces into one decisive tank battle that would leave the Axis infantry divisions without tank support. Operation Crusader commenced before dawn on the 18th of November. The 2 Allied corps took different directions. The 13th Corps made a flanking advance to attack the Italian forts along the border. The 30th Corps advanced northwest towards Tobruk, with the 7th Armored Brigade and the 7th Support Group deployed in the center. The 22nd Armored Brigade was covering their left flank, while the 4th Armored Brigade advanced north. No resistance was encountered that day. General Rommel underestimated the attack, but suspected that the British wanted to lure him away from Tobruk and ordered his tank forces to stay put. General Cunningham wasn't expecting such apathy. The capture of Gabersele didn't offer any tactical advantage, and the tanks of the 7th Armored Division pushed forward the next day. To prevent a counterattack to the rear, the 22nd Armored Brigade, supported by the 1st South African Division, attacked the Italian Ariete Division at Bir el Gubi. General Cunningham underestimated the Italians and thought that the battle would serve as a good exercise for the newly arrived British tankers before a fight with the Germans. Without prior reconnaissance, the British assaulted the entrenched Italians and lost 25 of their 136 tanks. The 4th Armored Brigade was ordered to stay near Gabersele to keep the 2 corps linked together. This left the 7th Armored Brigade and the 7th Support Group advancing alone towards Siderezeg. The Italians were caught off guard, and the British captured the local airfield, but any further advance was prevented by elements of the 90th Light Division and the Pavia Division. Later that day, the 21st Panzer Division formed a battle group of 85 tanks and 16 anti-tank guns to attack towards Gabersele. In the tank battle that followed, the Germans lost only 4 tanks, while the British lost 24. On the 20th of November, the 7th Armored Brigade repulsed a counterattack by the 90th Light and Bellona divisions. At Bir el Gobi, the 22nd Armored fought a second battle with the Italians, after which it was ordered to reinforce the formations fighting at Siderezeg. Meanwhile, the 15th Panzer Division drove to Sidi Aziz in search of enemy tanks. They turned southwest to link up with the 21st and attack the isolated 4th Armored Brigade. This was exactly what the Allies hoped for in their original plan, but the present situation for their tank forces were dispersed in 3 different locations, and now the 4th Armored Brigade was standing alone against 2 Panzer divisions. The 22nd Armored was ordered to turn around and reinforce the 4th instead. The 21st Panzer Division consolidated its forces, but had to refuel and rearm. The 15th Panzer Division passed by and attacked alone. The battle lasted until nightfall, with the 4th Armored slowly giving up ground until the 22nd arrived. But it was too late to have an impact, as the brigade spent the entire day driving towards Siderezeg before turning back to reach the 4th Armored. Fearing a flanking maneuver, the Germans retreated. Both Panzer divisions withdrew to eliminate the British forces at Siderezeg. The British perceived this withdrawal as a full retreat and pursued them. The plan for the 21st of November was a breakout attempt from Tobruk. The Polish brigade launched a diversionary attack to pin the Pavia Division, while the 70th Division, supported by tanks of the 32nd Tank Brigade, attacked southeast. Intense fighting followed, and the 70th Division overran 3 of 5 Italian strongpoints. The attack was halted before El Duda after the British suffered more than 200 casualties. It was now up to the 7th Armored Brigade to press from Sidi Rezegh and relieve them. But the situation at Sidi Rezegh became even worse. 45 minutes before the planned attack, patrols reported the appearance of some 200 tanks in the horizon. It was the 21st and 15th Panzer Divisions, organized and ready for battle, and not in full retreat as the British had thought. The 4 infantry companies of the support group with their artillery and a squadron of Crusader tanks were left alone to carry through the attack to the north, in anticipation of being reinforced by the 5th South African Brigade, which had been detached from the 1st South African Division. The 7th Armored Brigade, with a battery of field artillery, turned to hold the German tanks until the 4th and 22nd Armored Brigades could reach the sector. With this turn of events, the formations of both sides were pressed in a limited area of 35 kilometers in length, from the outer perimeter of Tobruk to the open desert southeast of Sidi Rezegh. In this chaotic deployment, both Axis and Allied units had no clear front and rear. The northward attack by the support group failed by the end of the day. Rommel was there, directing his forces personally. The 7th Armored lost all but 28 of its 160 tanks and was relying on the artillery of the support group to hold the enemy at arm's length. On November 22nd, the 70th Division pressed the attack and captured Strongpoint Tiger. But at Togun, the Italians brought down devastating fire, reducing the strength in one battalion to just 33 men. The 15th Panzer Division was ordered to withdraw, and the 21st Panzer Division attacked by itself to strike a final blow on the 7th Armored Brigade and the support group. The tanks of the 22nd Armored reached the battle this day. Thanks to the better quality of their tanks, the Germans won the battle again and captured the airfield. The 7th Armored was reduced to 10 tanks now, and the 22nd to 34. The Germans, on the other hand, had 179 fully operational tanks. The South African Brigade had reached the battlefield too, but without tanks to support their attack, they were forced to dug in. Meanwhile, at Italian-held fortresses near the border, the 5th New Zealand Brigade captured Fort Capuzzo, effectively cutting the supply road to Fort Solom. The last tragedy of the day for the British took place during the night when a regiment of the 15th Panzer Division found the headquarters of the 4th Brigade by sheer luck. The Germans captured 17 officers, 150 men of other ranks, 35 tanks, and all secret codes to the 30th Corps. The 4th Armored remained inactive for the next 2 days until the new headquarters were established. On the 23rd of November, the 22nd Armored Brigade was ordered to return to Bir el Gubi, and the 1st South African Brigade moved up to replace the British. The 6th and 4th New Zealand Brigades were detached from the division and advanced northwest to attack the Germans at Sidi Rezegh from the rear. The 1st Tank Brigade was following to support them. The Germans reacted by sending their Panzer Division southwest and consolidated them with the Italian Ariete Division. The Trieste Division was added to the German-Italian force to attack the 5th South African Brigade and the remnants of the 7th Armored Division. Although the South Africans destroyed many tanks, it was impossible to repel this assault. As a result, the South African Brigade was decimated, and the 7th Armored Division fled the battlefield, having failed to link up with its counterpart. The 1st South African Brigade dug in to establish its own strongpoint. After this defeat, the commanders of the 8th Army were shocked. Rommel, on the contrary, was confident that total victory in Africa was at hand and decided that his next move should be the relief of the besieged garrisons at the frontier. On the 24th of November, the German tank force swiftly covered 100 kilometers in only 6 hours. The 21st Panzer Division was the first to reach the border, and Rommel ordered it to cross into Egypt and then turn north to encircle the 13th Corps. The 15th Panzer Division was ordered to drive towards Sidi Aziz, where the 5th New Zealand Brigade headquarters were stationed. Now it was much harder for the supply columns to reach the Panzer Divisions, and as crazy as it may sound, Rommel crossed into Egypt to personally search for fuel dumps in British-held territory, and was forced to spend the night in the open desert after his staff car broke down. On November 25th, the Axis began to lose momentum. The Ariete Division was ambushed by the 1st South African Brigade and the remnants of the 4th Armored Brigade. As the 2 Panzer Divisions were fighting with the 5th New Zealand Brigade and the 4th Indian Division, the rest of the New Zealand Division captured the entire Sidi Rezegh area and linked up with the 70th Division. The Italian infantry divisions were desperately calling for the tanks to return. Only then did Rommel realize the bulk of the 13th Corps that he wanted to eliminate in order to open the way to Cairo had bypassed the Italian forts to help the garrison at Tobruk. Rommel finally withdrew his panzer divisions and fought a series of costly engagements in the next 10 days, but the outcome of Operation Crusader had already been determined. Operation Crusader was the first British victory over German-held territory. Thank you for watching. If you want to keep up with our updates, please hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to check us on Patreon. If you're a huge fan of the channel, support the war effort by joining our patrons and help us produce more videos.